I've never really been good at managing my time, ever. Like, ever since I was, I don't know, at least 15 or 14 more or less, I've always had like, my schedule, my daily schedule has always been terrible. Oh, not even really terrible. It's just more like I would waste my time doing stuff that I would otherwise never do now after looking back. Like, I used to play like FIFA 10 a lot. FIFA 10 and FIFA 13, when I owned those games, like, I would play it so much. And I didn't even really try to play other stuff. Though, to be fair, it was never really my fault entirely. Like, I didn't own any other games, and I didn't really like at the time I didn't really have television to watch because cable was temporarily available. Also, my I didn't really have online access also until at least 2014. So I guess in a way, playing FIFA 10 or 13 at the time, I don't remember which. I mean, it really just depends on what year we're talking about. Like, playing those games all the time, like all day, every weekend. I guess was the only real. It was guess it was the only thing I could do. I also owned a couple of How I Met Your Mother DVDs, and I would watch that all the time because again, it was really the only thing I could do at the time. But then in 2014, I feel like stuff was beginning to change. I had internet access, and slowly I began to spend less time playing FIFA and more time exploring shows, movies. I also, it was also around that time my mom paid for cable. I think my mom paid for cable around early 2014. It was more or less around that time. Uh, as for internet access, I gained, I think, in August. So yeah, 2014 and 15 were big, impactful years of change. I even began to play online. That was cool. But the most important part was that I was beginning to explore like television shows and movies, and that slowly made me gain a lot of passion for it. Especially because it was also around the time I was watching Cinema Sins, Screen Junkies, and that stuff. So yeah, my passion for that stuff was rapidly developing. But then we get to 20, let's say 17, and things began to change because I began to take YouTube more seriously, kind of. Yeah, I guess it was all. Yeah, I was. It was around the time I was taking YouTube more seriously. I began to upload once a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, but it was usually once a week. And as a result, I had to be very careful with what I would watch. I would have to dedicate a certain portion of the week to watch something, then write a script, and then record the video and that stuff. Now, initially, it was actually not that tough. Like, I would always have some time to watch what was needed to review, sometimes even weeks before. And sometimes I would even finish writing a script. Like, I would finish writing two scripts in one week, and the other one would be for next week. So yeah, stuff was a lot easier initially, but then something happened in around the middle of 2017. I was beginning to feel a little bit desensitized and burned out. Actually, burned out was a little after, but in around the middle, I was beginning to feel a little bit desensitized. Like, I was starting to get tired of stuff I was watching, like the cartoons I was watching. After a while, when that's all you watch, eventually you just kind of get a little bit tired. And I think it was also around the time I was beginning to watch anime. So yeah, that definitely contributed to me feeling like I needed a change of pace. Like, I felt like I needed to explore other areas. And that realization definitely made stuff a little bit confusing and unbalanced, because the entire like balance I had before was gone. Because the thing is, before, surprisingly, I always had time to watch something in order for me to review, and also something for fun. And that was slowly going away. Eventually, I barely had time to watch something to actually enjoy. Everything was a project. Like, more and more, I was beginning to, like, I felt the need to be more careful with what I watched, because I felt like if I watched something that didn't really have any purpose for a video, I would be wasting my time. And when I realized that I was getting sick of my entire routine, I was beginning to watch other stuff. But then over time, I think around September, like, as I was watching more stuff and less cartoons, I felt like I felt like things became even more tightened. Like, now I didn't really have time to watch cartoons for fun at all. Now every cartoon I watched, I had to be more careful. I had to only watch cartoons that I will review. And then in October, like, the funny thing about October is that, remember when I said that the reason why I chose to only review Billy and Mandy was because it was Halloween themed? That was part of the reason, but that wasn't the only reason. There were three reasons. The first one was the one about Halloween. The second reason was because my dad was visiting me at the time, so I felt like I had to write a script and record everything I could before my dad would come, because I don't think I would have time to do that. And Billy and Mandy is something that's very, very easy for me to review. Like, I don't even really need to revisit like an episode or a special for me to review it. I mean, I did at the end of the day, but usually I don't need. Like, there are some episodes I could very easily write a script without ever revisiting. And yeah, because I'm very settled on how I feel about the show, because I've watched it so many times. And yeah, it was a lot easier. But the other reason was because I wasn't watching cartoons. Like, I really was not watching. I was either watching anime or a live action show, or maybe even YouTube, because I was just tired of watching cartoons. Like, I was sick of it. And funny thing is that I don't think that has changed much. Like, now I do not at all watch cartoons, partially because I mean, part of the reason is because the new cartoons that are airing right now, I don't really find them to be that interesting. And as for the older ones, I watch some of them. Like, I did watch Symbiotic Titan a couple of months or weeks back. So yeah, I kind of still have time to watch that stuff, but definitely not as much as I had before. Like, in early 2017, I had all the time in the world, but now I feel like there's more pressure on what I watch. I mean, I still allow myself to open a small window to watch whatever's new, and that's only to give my first impressions. And yeah, I guess that's kind of the only time I watch anything that's new, because I mean, I do still watch. I'm still keeping up with Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Adventure Time, Steven Universe. Like, those three shows, I think they're really the only ones. Like, those three shows, I still have the energy and will to continue watching them. Everything else that's new, I only watched like the first 6 episodes of it, and then I give my first impressions. And even if I think it's fine or good, I'll probably never watch it again, because I don't care that much. And yeah, I guess that's one of the consequences of being a cartoon reviewer. I have to be more careful what I watch. I don't have much time to watch stuff for fun. And the in the small time I have to watch stuff for fun, I don't even watch cartoons. So That's something interesting.